So here we are in the South Australian desert. It's a very dry place. We only have about 160 millimetres of rain a year. And we've got a variety of habitats, the beautiful red sand dunes and the saltbush swales, swamps, and a whole variety of habitats for animals to live in. Since European settlement, we've lost most of our medium-sized mammals. So all of the bandicoots and the bilbies and the small macropods have all gone extinct, mostly due to things like feral cats and foxes, a lot of degradation of the land through rabbits and pastoralism. So most of them have disappeared from the system, and there's not really a lot left in terms of mammal department. But what we're doing here at Arid Recovery is we've built a big fence and we've excluded all those introduced predators and rabbits, and we put these animals back in the system, and we're studying what role they used to have in the ecosystem and how you can recreate them at an ecosystem level. When you release them outside the fenced reserves in the arid zone, they tend to get annihilated by cats and foxes. They just don't seem to have those anti-predator responses.
So what we're hoping to do is to expose 400 animals to a single cat, and then monitor the populations, monitor the shifts in behaviour, and monitor the survival of individuals whose personalities and traits that we've characterised. And in doing so, what we're hoping to do is we can actually identify some of the traits, the personality traits, the physical traits, the physiological traits that may enable animals to survive for longer.
I'll go set these down here.
All right, no worries, I'll stay up here. So these are our cage traps, and we just fit a hessian bag over the back of them, partly because these are nocturnal animals, so when you're approaching them with a spotlight it makes it less bright for them. And we're also using them to try and help us to understand the different personalities of the animals. So when we come to clear these traps, we take the hessian sack off and we see how compliant the animals are to leave or whether they stay in. Gives us another idea of their personality. To put this trap somewhere nice and flat. Check the door closes. Beautiful. And we're good to go. Yep, we've got a burrowing bettong here. So we're just going to do a little test of its personality as we take it out of the trap. It's going to fit the bag. Open up the door. And firstly, we just see if it goes in like that. I'm going to remove the hessian. It's almost there already. Just give it one blow. And there we go. Straight into the bag, nice and quietly. And this one had defecated in the trap as well, please. Yes, please.
Well, at Arid Recovery and other places like that in Arid Australia, we've managed to be able to re-establish populations of endangered animals, animals that are now extinct from the mainland, inside predator-proof enclosures. Effectively, we've created zoos. And we know that these animals can live perfectly well out here in the desert. They can find food, but what they can't do is they can't survive with foxes and with cats. And we really need to work out a way to move beyond zoos and really to start repopulating our arid landscapes with these native animals. And we're looking at a way to do that. So we're going to try and use evolution to see if we can improve the anti-predator responses of native animals. What we're finding with experiments, we're looking at whether, in our initial experiments, we're trying to see if these bettongs and bilbies can recognise introduced predators and recognise the scent of introduced predators. And what we're finding is that they've got very low levels of recognition. In fact, they feed more from trays that are scented with fox scent than they do from the controls. They're actually attracted to that scent, which is a terrible thing, because foxes will just kill them. So the aim of our project is to actually expose populations of these animals to predators and in a natural setting. And in doing so, what we're hoping is that that exposure will select for animals that have the right predator recognition and predator avoidance strategies. And effectively, we will improve the anti-predator responses so that they're at a point where they can coexist with these predators in the wild.
Alright, so we're going to do our final test of personality and see how the burrowing bettong responds when we release them back towards their warren. So let them have 3 seconds and then give them a nudge.
It's really difficult to know without actually filming the actual encounters between predators and prey as to exactly what predators' behaviours are required or responses are required by prey. There's a whole suite of things. It could be behavioural, it could even be physiological, it could be about when their adrenaline response turns on. We don't know that, but using logic and intuition and what we know about evolution is that it should act on the whole of the animal. And that at the end, after exposure, we should have animals that have the right responses. Now, we think we know what some of those responses might be, but it's very difficult to pin down. Now, for example, when you were walking around last night in that landscape, it's a very noisy landscape. The bettongs, they're all talking to each other. They're making these, I guess, these hissing sounds. Every time they're hopping around, they're going, ha, ha, ha. And then they've got this other call, which we think is an alarm call, where they grunt. And it's actually a very noisy landscape. Now, I'm not used to hearing such a noisy landscape, and one of the reasons I think is that it may be that in most other landscapes there might be selection against being noisy because you're just telling predators where you are. So we're expecting that after we expose these populations to these new invasive predators, that we actually might have a much quieter population. The animals might be much less inclined to make noises. Probably the biggest threat to endangered mammals in Australia is the fox, and then the cat is a second. And what we're trying to do is we're going to work with the lesser threat, the cat, because we think we can have the room to play with to slowly improve the populations. We think that it'd be very difficult to create a controlled enough situation to use predation by foxes. But what we're trying to do is to demonstrate that this concept can work with cats in the first instance, because that we think is a workable solution.
So we've got some western barred bandicoot tracks here and some burrowing bettong, hopping mice. There's also bilby and stick-nest rat and plains mouse. So there's a really large variety just in this very small area.